Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. So it's the day before my surgery, and I thought that I would just spend a couple of minutes updating you on what's going on in my room with my seeds, because my seedlings are starting to pop up and I thought you would be interested. It's certainly been fun to watch them grow a little. My name's Soleil and I garden in mid-Michigan in a zone 5B, and so I've got lots of starts going, some winter sowing as well as some seedlings in this room that I'm growing inside. So let's take a look at what we've got going. Okay, so as you can see, I use some module trays. They're fairly small, and then I've just used some painter's tape to be able to put some of the names on here. And I find that those are really easy to write on as well as to remove when I'm done with them. So I haven't had a ton of luck over here, but these are actually the Miss Marbles, I think is what it's called, Miss Marbles, and it is a heuchera. I have a couple of them coming up, but they are so tiny, I bet you can't even see them yet. Let me see if I can point one out to you. There's one right here. And I think there's another one coming up in another cell that's even smaller than that. But they seem to have some difficulty germinating for me, as well as being rather tiny. But that's okay. That was more of an experiment just to see how they did, because I actually already have this heuchera in my garden. And I just like heucheras, so I figured it'd be kind of fun to try. This one is a green heuchera, and when it grows, it starts to get some neat veining in it, which is rather pretty. So it's a nice foliage plant, and it can take sun or shade, so it makes it very versatile for in your garden. Now if we move over here, you can see this is 2 rows of Coleus, and you'll see that there is a hole right now of one of them, and that's because it literally was so full of little Coleus babies that I needed to take it out and separate them, and I'll show you those in a minute and what I did with them. But this is just a Coleus mixture, so I'm not sure exactly what colors they're going to be. Obviously they have some green, and then you can see some of the darker colors beginning to come out on them, but they're doing really well. So I'm going to have a lot of Coleus this year, I think. Now, as we go over here to the left, I'm really excited about some of these, because these are some, I have pansy written here, but these are really violas. So I have some purple ones and I have some white ones growing, and they're doing really well. I am hoping that after about a week of being home for my surgery, these will be in a large enough, they'll all have enough of their true leaves growing that I can put them out into my little mini greenhouse that I have on my deck, and they should be fine out there for a couple of weeks to grow on before I plant them out. So this is probably my saddest tray right here. This is supposed to be my Verbena, Bonariensis, and they're a really pretty flower that often reseeds itself. It is an annual, and I don't know if they just are really slow to germinate, or if they just don't really like the conditions that I'm growing them in. Like maybe it's a little too cool for them to germinate here in my basement, but that's what I have going on here. I'm not even sure that what has come up is actually Verbena. There's a couple that have come up, and I think they might actually be like pansies or excuse me, petunias or snapdragons or some other seed that might have just hopped into the tray on accident. So I guess we'll be watching this one over time to see what happens, but so far I'm a little sad about this one, but it was worth a shot, and maybe they'll still grow yet. Over here I have some purple Prince Snapdragons, and these are very small still. I'm not sure if you can see them. If I get maybe horizontal with the soil, you can see some of them kind of peeking up over. But they are teeny tiny seeds, and they are teeny tiny seedlings when they start to come up. I believe these are called purple Prince, so they're rather, or dark Prince, they're a really dark color, almost a purplish reddish black in the picture that I saw. But they seem to all be growing quite well. They just are really, really tiny still. And most of them have not put on any true leaves yet, but I expect that to happen probably in the next week. But I'm super excited about having all of these Snapdragons to work with, and I think that they will be really fun to play with in some containers and to fill in around the yard. Now these are my Parma onions, and you can see some of them are starting to come up. When onions come up, they actually come up looking like they are bent in half, and then they slowly unfurl and come up so that they then begin to look a little bit like tiny chives. So these are all looking really good. I'm happy with the growth on them so far. And if you haven't grown onions, I think something that is good to know about them that I didn't realize is just how much water they really like to have in order to grow. So just keep an eye on them and make sure that you water them. I typically add a little bit of water pretty much every single day. It's just getting some close-ups here if you can see some of the greenery. I love growing onions. I grew them last year, and I have some other onions that I haven't planted yet that I'm looking forward to also growing. It might be a little bit delayed, but that's okay. I probably won't harvest those onions until really late in the season. But that's kind of a nice way to do some succession planting, is just by planting some and then a few weeks later planting another crop. So these are my little baby Penstemons, and these are the ones that I have grown from seeds that I collected in my own garden. You can see some of them are a little bit red tinged and some of them are more green, and I'm wondering if these are going to all be the same color or if any of them will be kind of a different type depending on the way that they were pollinated. So I have a few different types of penstemon in my yard, so it'll be interesting to see if these are like the dark pinkish purple or if they turn out to be another color. Now I also am really excited. I don't know if you can see this itty bitty teeny tiny green dot right here, but I have two of those, and why am I excited about an itty bitty teeny tiny green dot like that is because I think that is actually one of the calicarpa or beautyberry bushes that I am trying to grow from seed. So I just collected these from a small bush and I planted them in the soil, and they seem to be growing really, really slowly. So I'm just being as patient as I possibly can, but I am so incredibly excited to see it. Oop, here it is. Did I point to the right spot? I don't even know if I pointed to the right spot, but there it is right there at the tip of my fingernail. So that's pretty cool. Now this next tray is also a bit of a fun one. I thought I would try some Clematis here in the left two rows. These are from my Sparky Blue Clematis. I had some seed heads, and so I thought I would try them. Nothing seems to be coming up. There does appear to be one little green thing poking through, or two or three, but I think that those are actually petunias, because in the next two rows over, if you can see, those are starting to come up. I have some Petunia seeds that are finally starting to germinate, so that's going to be fun. Those are like a white wave petunia, and those also I collected from seeds. And I can't believe how many are actually in this one cell at the end here. I don't know how that happened, because I feel like I did a pretty good job of distributing the seeds so that they would be fairly even throughout, but apparently I didn't. Anyhow, those are really versatile. I like using them in my hanging baskets, and they grow really well and very easy plant. So over here I have some Gomphrena, and these are pink, and you can see they're rather reddish green seedling, and these went through a special process, so I will put a couple of pictures up so you can see what I did as I talk it through. But what I did was I took the seeds, and they say to soak for 24 to 48 hours, and my intention was just to soak them for 24 hours. But what I did was I took a paper towel and I just wet it down, and I folded it in half, and then I placed all of the seeds inside the paper towel. I folded it over a couple more times, and then I put it into a baggie and sealed it. And I just let them set like that. And once I took them out, again, I meant to do it for just 24 hours, but I ended up doing it for 48. But once I took them out, it was interesting because they were already germinating. So that was really cool to see and to know that they were ready to go. So you could see the little teeny tiny parts of them poking out from the seed before I even got them into this tray. But I think these are all going to do really well, and I'm going to let them grow on quite a bit more. You can see they just have their very first cotyledons, and we don't have any true leaves on them yet, but I think that those are coming because I can see them poking out between the two, so anytime soon. One of the things that's important when you're growing seedlings is to keep them really close to the lights, especially at first, until they get bigger and are able to absorb the light better through larger leaves. At any rate, these are about 4 inches, maybe 3 or 4 inches away from the lights, so that really helps with them picking up what they need and keeps them from stretching. Okay, so down here I have something fun for us. I went to Costco. Actually, my husband went to Costco because, as you know, I'm just kind of rehabbing and hanging out at home while I wait for my surgery. But he found that they were having their spring sale from Longfield Gardens, and so I picked up some Clematis starts. You can see here I have the Comtesse du Bouchard. This is a Clematis that is a pink one, and it's already growing really well. You can see the back one, I clipped out the center growth, and that's just to make it more bushy, so I'm going to do that with all of them. And then in the maroon color we have this Niobe, and this one I think is the one that I have growing on my mailbox. Many of you liked that and complimented me on it, but I believe this is the same one. And so they're all looking really good. They're all coming up. Then we have the Ville de Lyon. This is a pink Clematis, and again, just sprouting up really easily. I'm just reusing these containers and have put them in some potting soil, and we'll get them going with a good start before the frost is done so that I can get them outside and they'll already have a head start. And then this last one, let me see here, it's kind of down far. This one is the Ramona Clematis, and this one is a purple Clematis. Now over here, I'm just trying, just for fun, I have Summerific Hibiscus that I grew last year, and I had a couple seed heads, so I pulled some seeds off. Nothing's happening, but we'll see. I thought I would just try it for fun because I don't really even need one. So in addition to those Clematis, I also picked up these irises, and these are really purple, deep, dark purple irises. They're called Purplicious, and I'm planning to, I thought when my husband was buying them that they were bearded irises, but they are not. They are, I think, Siberian irises, so if that's the case, they like lots of water, and I'll probably plant them in my front ditch that's near my mailbox that gets a lot of water. And here you can see what I did with that one small set of Coleus seedlings that I had. You can imagine that these were incredibly crowded because these are, I think, 2 by 2 inch pots, and all of these came out of just that one little teeny tiny cell that I showed you earlier that didn't have anything left in it. So I just transplanted them today. They're looking really good and happy. I think they're gonna be fine and love their new home and have more space for their roots. Now these are super fun. I'm loving this. This is the first time I've grown Nasturtium, and it is definitely a really fun and easy one to grow. Lots of them have already started sprouting. These are pink and also like apricot, which is what enticed me, because normally I would see that there would be lots of orange or red nasturtiums and all in that really hot color family, but these are a little bit cooler colored, a little bit softer colored, so I thought it would be really fun to grow them, and they're doing fantastic. I just potted these up as well because they were in a really small cell tray, and I wanted to make sure that they didn't get completely dried out or grow way out of their cells before I could get to them, because having my surgery tomorrow, I wanted to make sure that they're good for at least a week, because I'm not sure when I'll be able to pot up anything else or make changes to it. I definitely, though, will be able to talk to my husband and explain to him how to water these via a little video chat or something like that. He can definitely handle that much. Alright, well, I hope you have enjoyed this video today and my seedling update. I appreciate everybody watching, and we will see you next time. Thank you again. Bye!